Well, hello. I hope you are doing well today. I want to talk about air travel. Hang with me for just a minute, and I think this will all make sense. So recently, I found myself in New York, actually for something we've talked about before. I took a couple days away. I took some time out to go and think and have a little bit of a retreat. But of course, I had to get there and I had to get back here, which meant some flights. On the way there, I left Wichita very early in the morning. I think the flight out was like at 5 a.m., which meant I was at the airport earlier than that and all of that jazz. You get the picture. But on the way back home, my flight left New York City at like 4:30 in the afternoon, so a late afternoon flight. Now, overall, things went great. But the late afternoon flights had all sorts of issues and potential issues and friction that as I sat there and thought about it, and actually thought about it all day because I hate airports. They just drive me nuts. This lesson, this idea, this thought came to me that I don't actually need to be putting myself through this, one, and two, by choosing this later flight, by choosing the evening flights, I was making my life far harder than I need to. Okay, so why should you take the early flight? A couple reasons. One, everything starts over every morning in the airport, right? So you get there at 5 a.m. And when I got there at 5 a.m. in Wichita, I was like me and 7 other people that were going to take this flight, right? And so it was calm and cool and collected, and all the airplanes had gotten there the night before. If there was maintenance issues, they were taken care of the night before. Everything was ready for a fresh start that morning. But as the day goes on, in the wide world of air travel in the United States, things happen, which, of course, things are going to happen. Like little things break. You're just a little bit leaving on one flight, so that makes the next flight just that little bit late. And risk and things start to accumulate and add up throughout the day. And the airline industry is, it's a tight business. It's not built with lots of margin. They need to keep these airplanes full, and they need to keep them flying all the time to make any money. So there's not a lot of margin for error. You know this, and you've experienced this. All that stuff adds up all day long. On top of that, there's just more friction, right? There's 100,000 people on flights in the afternoon versus the 5 in the morning. There's more people in the airport. There's more gate crews trying to service more airplanes that are trying to move around. There's just more friction. And third, there's just fewer options as you go throughout the day as backup plans if something goes wrong on your original plan, right? So if my flight at 5 a.m. out of Wichita hadn't gone off well, I had a whole day of flights ahead of me that I could crisscross my way around the country and end up in New York just like I had planned. If I have something go wrong on this 5 o'clock flight leaving New York to come home, I'm not getting home that night. There's just not that many more options to get to Wichita that late in the afternoon or evening. So by leaving early, I give myself far more options. Okay, why are we talking about airplanes and flights? Because I think this applies to a lot of what we do. All of our businesses are complex. What we do is quite complex. There's tons of moving parts that are dependent on the parts that come before that. And so often what we try and do is maximize the efficiency of the whole system. And because of that, we make decisions or we take actions only when we need to for the next step to occur, and we wait till the last minute. But the result is that when something goes wrong, we end up delaying the whole system. What if instead we just did things early in the window of when it makes sense to do these things instead of waiting? We actually talk about this every week on With Purpose, I think. Right? So when we get into that planning time, there's this box of like, what have you been putting off that you know you need to do? That box is usually full for me. But it shouldn't be, because doing things earlier would actually be so much better than just letting them linger. So the moral of the story for this week on With Purpose is to take the early flight. It's less risky because there's less that can go wrong. There's more options if something does go wrong, and there's just less friction overall. Take the early flight. Okay, makes sense? Fantastic. So to help you think about what this means for you, of course, we have developed a planner linked in the show notes or down below, wherever you find us on your favorite podcast app, that will help you think through it. The first question on the planner is, as always, what are you grateful for this week? I'm really grateful for the trip I took to New York. I got a lot of stuff figured out that had been rolling around in my head for a while, and I'm excited to move forward with some of it. So, what are you grateful for? And then, what have you taken the late flight on? What have you been putting off that you need to just get done? List it out here. Okay, first of two questions that I've got for you this week to think through this idea of taking the early flight. I, for a long time, had this idea that I should wait to make decisions or wait to take action until the last possible moment, because that gave me more options. And so I was actually making life harder. And I wonder if you have this belief too, whether you recognize it or not. So I guess the question is, subconsciously, do you believe that waiting is better, or are you all on board for this idea of just getting it done? Second question is, how do you think about applying this concept to your company or your organization? We've been talking about it as individuals, and I think there's a lot to learn there or a lot to apply. But as a company, do you typically take the early flight, or are you putting things off? Okay, that's it for this week's episode of With Purpose. We're doing this every week. I hope you've noticed the pattern by now. If not, there's a hint. We'll see you here next week on With Purpose. Have a good one.